What's her called?
Cactus.
Boy, Alan, I hope it's not a lonely ride on the desert for me today. Saguaro.
Saguaro.
Hard to say. There you go, that's good. S-A-G-U-A-R-O. It's a Yaqui word that means guardian or sentinel. And later on this morning, I'll explain to you how they guard this desert and what they guard it from. But the Indian legends about saguaros mostly centered on the fact that they were people that came back to life. Remember that cactus?
Huh. All those cactus out there?
Uh-huh.
Ah,
So
wow.
a big saguaro with a lot of arms would have been a great chief or warrior. Arms were wives. Arms that come off arms on older saguaros represented children to them. You'll see some drooping arms in here. That's due to frost damage. A drooping arm would be a wife that fell out of favor for some reason. Now, the little bird that's sitting on that tree on the left here is called a fainal pepper. Just flew. We'll get a better look at one. The common name for that little bird is black cardinal. The crest on the head that looks like a cardinal's head.
Yeah.
They're migratory. They come in December and they leave in April. They're here to feed on mistletoe. And mistletoe is what you're going to see hanging from a lot of these trees. It's a plant parasite, what we more accurately call a saprophyte. It's robbing these trees of nutrients and moisture. And that little bird's feeding right in December, right there. That's a male, Lizzie, because we know the male's always better looking than any species.
Oh,
Is that where they get the Arizona Cardinals name?
No, you know, because they were, I guess because they were St. Louis Cardinals. In fact,
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
but a cardinal just flew there. A male cardinal just flew down there. The cardinals are not here in the summer. The red cardinal, they're migratory. And we don't get a lot of them here, but one just flew behind us there. But we do see them from time to time. Always nice to see water in the desert. Phoenix draws its water from 3 river systems, the Verde, the Salt, and nowadays the Colorado. And the Colorado's severely depressed right now, but I think after the snow melt this spring it's going to be way up. But the Colorado is what waters what Arizona, Nevada, and California are constantly battling over in several portions. Nevada and California still get some of our allotment. Teddy bear cholla,
And those really hurt you.
jumping cholla or jumping cactus. They're in a genus called the Puntia, which is Latinized Spanish for puncture, and that's a real good name for them.
Oh, is the fountain going off
Yeah.
now?
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like it's.
Yeah, it'll
Looks
go
like
off
it's
for
active.
about 15 or 20 minutes.
And that's big, taller than the
That's
Washington.
taller than the Washington Monument. See, you can notice there's a ridge between us, and we're not.
I can really see when I have it close up. I can
Oh,
see
can
it.
you? Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
yeah. Yeah, that's
Wow.
kind of by Red Mountain over there, where I used to see the wild horses when we first got here.
Mm-hmm.
Those were old Indian ponies that had gone wild on the reservation.
Neat.
The reason the Tontos were in here is we're close to water here. There's 2 reservoirs on the Verde, and the biggest one is Bartlett Lake, right over there. You can see the dam directly across there. So the Verde's flowing all the way along the base of these mountains. Those mountains are called the Matazals, and that's federal wilderness. You have to access that by horse, mule, or foot. On that cholla I showed you, there were so many primary needles that you couldn't see the secondary needle. But if you look at those little, now these needles, the long ones, they're going to stab you just like a sewing needle, and that's the end of it. But those little hair-like needles there, they get under your skin, and when you try to pull them out, they break off under skin level. So you get a red, itchy rash for a week or 2. The fruit on this plant looks a little bit like a pear, and it's full of those glockets, so hence the name prickly pear. But the fruit is real edible. They make good jams and jellies from the
The fruit inside of
What is it
that.
called again?
Yeah, it's called prickly pear.
You can just cut that up and eat it raw, like.
Well, now most cactus flesh you can't eat. Okay, that one, this one, and this one you can eat. Most of it you can't.
Okay.
If you go into a grocery store in the Phoenix area, you'll find these small pads for sale. They've been, the needles are off and they've been skinned. But in March, these are going to be loaded with those real pretty orangish red flowers. They're very, very, very pretty.
What's that Camelback Mountain? Can we see that from here?
Okay, no, you can't. You're looking directly at the McDowell's. We're on the other side of the McDowell Range now. We were on the front side coming out. That little projection sticking up there is called Tom's Thumb, and that was the site of a heliograph We had 56 operational heligraphs in the Arizona Territory. It was just a wooden box on a tripod with a set of mirrors used to send Morse code. In the old days, there'd be a couple of soldiers stationed up there by that Tom's Thumb with field glasses. If they saw Indian movement, they could signal back using Morse code to Fort McDowell to send the cavalry out to intercept them. So probably a pretty tough duty station in the summer, though, being up on the side of that mountain. You know.
Interesting.
We need to make a cowgirl on it.
I almost
Hey,
got
looks
one.
good
I
on
had
you.
one at home. I
Do
didn't
ya?
like it. Yeah.
First rule is all guns are always loaded. Remember I told you my gun's unloaded, but that means I'm always going to treat it like a loaded weapon. Okay?
Yeah.
Rule number 2 is you never point the muzzle of a gun at anything you don't want to destroy. Okay, so you're always careful what direction you put the muzzle. Rule number 3 is you never move your finger down to the trigger till you make the mental decision you're going to fire it. And then the 4th rule is to know what's in front of or behind your target when you shoot. So that's all there is to it.
What kind of gun is that?
That's a Ruger Vaquero 357 Magnum.
It's exciting.
The Woods, that's the Carnegie Foundation. The
Ah.
Carnegie Foundation provided early research money about 80 years ago to study this world, so it was named in their honor.
Oh.
Well, well, well.
How old is this?
I would just give you a guess of around 250 years, probably.
Because they're 60 when they throw the first.
Yeah, just as a guess. Again,
So look how many arms. Oh, goodness.
That column weighs about 125 pounds per foot when it's well hydrated. The arm's between 80 and 100 pounds per foot. The pleating you see is serving a purpose. When this plant's taking up moisture, it's expanding. During a drought cycle, it's contracting. The pleating helps to keep it from bursting open the epidural coating so it doesn't get water again. But you can see this arm came off just about a month ago, and I looked at the other side of it, has frost damage. So we're a little concerned that this guy may still succumb to that frost.
Well, look at this here.
Yeah.
That's all.
That'd kill you.
Well, what, 100 pounds? What is it?
About the column's about 125 pounds per foot. The arm about 80. The scabs that you see are from a moth. They're not to it. It lays its eggs.
If you're right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty typical terrain here. In the westerns, they always show the Apache on horse.
That wasn't.
That wasn't really true. They did know how to ride horses, but they did not esteem the horse like the Plains Indians did. They were mostly on foot. In the old days, Allen here, he'd be leading his men down this wash or up there on that ridge on a trail. You're never going to catch an Apache riding down a wash or on a ridge on a horse where he's exposing himself. You know, they wouldn't do that. Settlers did that too. They were going cross country, and you can see the terrain is steep. It's rocky. It's full of cactus and sharp rocks. They're in the Stone Age. They couldn't shoe a horse. Once a horse throws a shoe out here, it's not much good to you. Unlike the Plains Indians, where those horses were unshod. Then the other problem they have with horses in the summer, a horse just flat needs too much water out here. Alan, someday you can
Yeah.
keep a wife for about a gallon or two a day in the desert. Your horse, you're going to need about 20 or 30 gallons in the summer. So horse wife. That's hard to figure out, huh? Now, if you see me looking at a lot of barrel cactus today, you know we're lost, okay?
Okay.
These are phototropic. They're growing towards the sun. And the hard question is, why would you want to grow towards the sun out here when it gets so hot in the summer? The easy answer is you don't. What's happening, and this is just a young barrel here, but you notice it's taller on this side than it is on that side. If we take and strike a line in the direction this is leaning, from the tall side to the short side, and strike a line there, this afternoon that sun's going to swing right over there. That's southwest. So these are called compass barrels. They will point you accurately to the southwest. So on the way out, if I'm looking at a lot of barrels, that means we're lost. I'll start going southwest. Eventually we'll hit Mexico, and that's a good thing because down there they have tequila.
Yeah, I've been there. I'm from further south. I'm
Oh, are
from
you?
South America,
Oh, are you? Okay, what part?
Colombia.
Colombia. Oh, okay.
We have big mountains. Too.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Andes.
Yeah, high altitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, the indigenous people there had to chew on the cocoa
exactly.
Yeah, for the high
Survive,
altitude.
yeah.
Chlorophyll is in the bark of the tree, so it's sufficiently photosynthesizing through the bark. The majority of the trees in this desert are in the legume family. They're in the pea family, so they bear pods with edible beans. And the Indian women would collect those beans. They put them in a hollowed-out stone called a matadi. Take another rock, mana for Spanish for hand, and they grind those and pulverize them into a flour and cook a flatbread from it. So
Sounds delicious.
it was.
They had so much work back then.
They did. It was a hard life. It really was.
So yeah.
Alan, you come back to the wiki up here in Apache now, not a cavalry guy. You killed a big old mule deer. You're nice enough to gut it for your mom, you know. Then you tell her, butcher this up. We're going to eat good for a while. Then you look down and you say, you know, my clothes are wearing out. So, Mom, make me some new clothes. How are you going to soften that deer hide? You're going to chew it.
You're kidding.
No, and the gilded flicker that make those nesting sites, tonight it's going to be 10, 15 degrees warmer inside there than it would be in this tree. On a hot summer day, it might be 10, 15 degrees cooler inside that swirl, because that swirl's got a lot of water in it. That water is moderating the temperature fluctuation. So front seats are pretty comfortable, aren't they? I haven't felt the bump yet. Not sure about that middle seat.
It's arrived.